ahead and start. And let's just do that right now by closing our eyes and presencing ourselves here, taking some deep breaths, maybe the heart breaths, breathing in through the heart and out through your feet. Our grounding helps you presence and bringing more into who you are, this moment, this now. Place, you can open your eyes, and here's a little handout on the oral characterology, which is what we're going to look at this evening. This is about being enough, having enough. And I'm gonna go get my glasses. One thing.
Structure something.
Oh, okay.
I'll give it to you. I messaged you back. I'd ask if you would come into class because I could just schedule in or give you my number so we can.
This is for original.
Oh. Did you got extra ones over on that side?
Is there two?
You just have one. It's
Just
supposed to be double-sided.
Oh, you're supposed to be double-sided, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just one page, yeah. Front and back.
I guess we'll pass
This
these
one
back.
is yours.
I think these are two of these.
Sorry.
And these are
And these are
the
double sided.
Very good. We think.
We need to separate those out a little bit. Glad you figured it all out.
She figured it out.
Good, good. Yeah. Yeah, some of this is taken from this book, For Yourself. Thank you. Releasing unconscious defense patterns. So these are all, they're called characterologies or energetic structures that develop from childhood on. Actually, some of it you bring in from past lives. And it's important to know that you are not your structure, okay? You are not what we're gonna talk about. This is just a defense pattern, an energy pattern that's been developed in your energy system from the time you were born. And sometimes past lives, sometimes you can bring it in past lives. But what it is, it's an opportunity to shift that, whatever it is. So in other words, last week we talked about the schizoid who had a fear of being in the body, and that, you know, could develop basically from some past life torture situations, from being afraid to be in the body when you're born. And so we work with some experiences in helping you feel more embodied and being aware when I'm out of my body and when the energy's in. And this is, the oral is kind of like the next step in the characterologies and how they're developed as a child. This one is kind of early childhood stuff too. I'm going to look at the side with the people on it. This gives you, this is from Barbara Brennan's book, The Two Energy Systems. Normally, you know, your energy, if you've ever seen, I should probably bring that sometimes, we can see it, the full colored energy system where everything is balanced. You can see kind of where the energy is blocked. It's very, not always is the oral characterology skinny, because you can have bits and pieces of there's 5 characterologies and defense patterns that we're discussing. So you can have all different ones. This one in particular is a fear of being deprived, fear of deprivation or abandonment is the basic structure of it. The source could be from past life things, from loss of abandonment, There's an emotional charge of the fear of losing, a sense of emptiness and insecurity. The defense system is stuffing and dependency, selfishness, attachment, parasitic behavior. The declaration of the system is more. It's like you need more. There's never that fulfillment that you have everything that you need. I don't have enough. Don't leave me. There's a sense of abandonment. And it's almost like a needy type of personality, that structure that feels like it can never be fulfilled. So it's constantly pulling in from out here and trying to get fed. What it needs to work on is to get rid of the fear of being deprived, deprivation, and the fear of loss. Learn to be content in any circumstances. And so it's working on, I am being totally transformed as I am totally content and I am fulfilled. So that's kind of a sense of where we're going. So on the other side, what I'm going to ask you to do maybe is, as we go through the checklist here, is to kind of even close your eyes before we start and invite your body to relax and feel in as we mention each of these checklists, characterology pieces, and see which ones might be appropriate and fit for you as we read through them and go over some of them. So once you kind of center into your body, then you can kind of open your eyes again, and as I read through theirs, just notice when your body kind of goes, oh, you know, that sounds like something where I'm a little bit triggered or notice. The first one, of course, we kind of already mentioned, is fear of being deprived, fear of not having enough, or fear of abandonment. There's just a sense of never being complete or fulfilled. A feeling or a sense of emptiness. Feeling insecure, always feeling like you're not like completely full. And this is not necessarily food full, this is kind of like energy full. It's always like you're trying to feel and draw in something. The past life experiences, these can come up if you've had a past life where maybe you like were in the desert and starved to death, or you lived in a society where there was never enough food. So your energy system, if you live, and we probably all have on some level, maybe some more than others, have lived in some kind of past life where there just wasn't enough. Or maybe you were a child in a village and you were, abandoned or left. One of the images I saw that I was working with lately for myself was I was a young kid and I felt really full and alive, but then it's like some Indians or something came, and destroyed the family. And so as a 15-year-old, then I was kind of left by myself. So it could be something along those lines where you were either abandoned or deprived in some way and left alone. The past life experience of famines or not having enough, of poverty or lack of water, feeling yourself in the desert, never, starving from not having enough water or wherever. A physical or psychological abandonment. That can be like physically someone leaving you, as I mentioned in that situation, or it can even be in this lifetime. Psychologically, abandonment. Someone leaves you energetically, and it could be a relationship and you're just feeling totally lost. That sometimes is where the neediness comes in, and stalkers, and that's extremes examples, but where somebody just feels like they don't have enough inside of them to be full of who they really are, so they're constantly looking out here for somebody to fulfill them and fill them up. There are some things that can happen at birth, and this is mainly after birth, one of the things I just recently worked with it's funny how when I'm studying these characterologies, even though I've done tons of work on them, and it's like, okay, there's another layer just coming up right there. Because it was like, I sensed, as you know, the birthing situation in our world, if anybody's, everybody's familiar with it, but I've done some studies on, and I know doulas and different things, but I attended a school in Boulder, Colorado called Integrated Body Psychotherapy, where we study the stages in utero and then also things that kind of happen afterwards. And so we got to watch like birthings in water and so forth. And to be aware of what it can look like when it's naturally meant to be, and the way that we're treated in most of the hospitals in this world, because you know they're taking you. I'll just go from my experience, from what I remember as a birth. Anyway, kind of going back there, and what we can see in the hospitals is you're kind of taken and you're wrapped up, and so you're already feeling that abandonment from the mother. You're wrapped up, you're kind of, you know, cuddled because that's what they want. And then as I was kind of feeling into that, it was like, I didn't want to be cuddled because the birth trauma was already, you know, a little bit crazy. And it's like, I wanted to just kick and scream. And it reminded me of seeing a water birth as a baby comes out into the water, and it's like it's just shaking the tremors and everything out of the body that needed to be shook out, because, you know, coming through that canal is a little bit traumatic. And so it's giving that baby, and then being able to see what what it's supposed to be like is to be able to place the baby on the belly. If you've never seen anything like that, it's pretty amazing. Is to not cut the cord too soon, because that's another abandonment, is knowing when to cut the cord, placing the baby on the belly, and letting the baby just nuzzle up. And it's so beautiful to watch, and how they can find and attach to that nipple for the first time and being fed. That's a lot of what this is about, is being fed and fulfilled and connected and not abandoned. And that's the way it's naturally meant to be, but for whatever reason, that's not what we do in the world right now, especially in the United States. Even with cesareans, you know, you hear them scheduling cesareans like it's, you know, having a tooth out or something. So it's, all of us on some level are going to feel a little bit of sense of abandonment just from the way probably we were brought into the world. And so this is giving us an opportunity to kind of see where that might be triggered, and giving us an opportunity to clear it. That's kind of what we're working with this evening. Any questions or comments on the baby part? Because that's pretty significant. The other part, where are my glasses, is the bottle feeding. We're going back to the breastfeeding. And the natural, you know, in fact, in the book, it talks about the nipples actually have their own little chakras. And when the baby is breastfed like that, then they are getting not only the milk, but they're also getting energy from the mom. So there's that energy connection. I know my mom had ether, and so she was, you know, probably completely out of it, you know, rushed away. So there's all of those little pieces there that she's not there, so I'm feeling abandonment energetically, you know, and so all of those little pieces, I don't know anybody that's pregnant besides Sarah now, but I would hope that as the awareness comes, and I know there's more with doulas and different things that they're doing in our society now to make it more adaptable for babies, but it's really important. And even they talk about the bottle feeding, which, you know, for many years, I think they're coming back around to the importance now of the breastfeeding, and when it has to be done, you know, then that's important. But to be obviously the connection and the disconnection, the baby's eyes can see actually. This is about this is the depth that they can see automatically. So they can see the mother's face. And they say that the eye connection when a baby is really up here and you're really feeding, and the eye connection with the mother and the baby, especially from the very beginning, it helps these nerves, the trigeminal nerves in the brain actually connect in a way that's not always connected. So it's like it's missing something if it doesn't get that eye connection.
I know a lady that was never able to have the baby, and they adopted a little boy.
Mm-hmm.
And she had a friend that was a baby nurse,
Mm-hmm.
and they hooked up a thing where they had a bottle, and then they hooked up like a tube taped it to her nipple,
Oh, wow.
so he would get something and stay there.
Oh, wow.
And her milk came down,
Eventually
and she
came
breastfed
down.
him. Yeah, she had never been pregnant.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's neat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are awarenesses, and people are realizing more and more the importance of that baby connection, you know, instead of just wishing you away and, you know, all that abandonment that comes there and not getting fulfilled, not getting fed properly, just missing that little piece of energy there is very, very important. So towards the end here, as we go through a meditation, what we're going to be doing is allowing you to see what comes up for you. I'm not going to do any specific kind of meditation, but to see which piece of these is important for you to kind of work with and clear this evening. So just know where any of these you feel a little more triggered than the other. So taking the baby away, first of all, let's see where, like birth, abandonment, and deprivation, cutting the birth cord too early. I think maybe more doctors are becoming a little bit aware of that, because the baby's getting that food supply there. And so if all of a sudden that's abrupt and it's not naturally okay, you know, it's beginning to cut off and they're getting their everything elsewhere, their breath and everything, it can also feel that sense of, you know, just chopped off there. Taking the baby away from the mom and putting it in a crib, bottle feeding instead of breastfeeding. And then the early childhood needs, even up to 0 to 2, of not being met. So this is taking it a little bit further into the 2s. Because, you know, you think of the terrible 2s is what we always hear of, and that's because they're coming more into their independence. And from birth until then, you know, they're kind of beginning to walk, so they're kind of getting out on their own. But until then, everything is supported by, you know, its environment, you know, feeding it, taking care of it, supporting it in whatever ways. And so if the child is not getting those needs met in whatever way, shape, or form, and maybe the parent is doing the best they can, and maybe the child has brought in some past life issues and already feeling abandoned, and then the mother's not there as much as it wants it to be, you know, you don't know whatever's going on completely, so it's really no blame, but just aware that up to 2, around 2, you know, is when they kind of begin to walk, and so they're getting their independence. And I think if they're nurtured appropriately during those 0 to 2 years, then there's not so much of the terrible 2s as they're trying to claim what they didn't get, maybe. That's my opinion. I didn't read that anywhere. So, anyway, it's important for them to feel supported. I adopted 2 children at ages 5 and 6, and my daughter, who was 5 at the time, was around 1 when she was first taken out of the home, and then was in different foster homes up till 5 when I got her. And she was diagnosed with a minor attachment disorder, which is basically not being able to trust the world. That's, I mean, there were 5 kids in the family. They all had the same mom. The younger 2, just realizing this is being videotaped and how my daughter doesn't watch it, but she wouldn't care. She's very knowledgeable and very aware, but it was very difficult for then when I adopted her at 5 to establish a relationship with her, because she never developed trust. And that's what you develop from 0 to 1. Or 0 to 1, in that time period in particular, you trust that your environment's going to be taken care of, you're going to be supported. you know, and all of those. And the whole 5 children were taken out of the home for physical and sexual abuse. So you don't know what happened to her in particular. But just being aware of the importance of those particular years and how trust has been difficult for her even throughout time. You know, we've done counseling and work on it and so forth, but those important years is learning to trust the world. And on some level, if we don't get that, then there may be a little piece of us that is afraid to kind of trust and feel full and complete with who you are, which is kind of what the oral is all about. So parents unavailable during early childhood, it can be a fear of loss, a neediness, like you're always, you know, you're needing something. And, you know, some of these you may recognize in other people. Stuffing, physical and emotional dependence. It's like they are really not able to be on their own. I don't think some of this probably fits some of you because you have chosen to come here tonight. Physical stuffing of food, drinks, tobacco, drugs, alcohol, so it could be a part of that dependence there. Psychological stuffing of television, shopping, sports, travel, personal growth seminars. You know, you can, it's kind of like the addiction, you know, you can be addicted to anything because you're out there still trying to find something to fill that emptiness inside, whatever that is. Energetically siphons and sucks others' energies in relationships. And I think I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago about if you're around somebody and you when you leave, you just kind of feel like your energy's been drained. That's because they're getting their energy from you. And it's not intentional, basically. It's kind of an energetic thing of some people that just kind of make you feel like you know, lost your energy and you feel drained when you're around them. That's because they haven't learned to find their own inner fullness and their own inner energy, and so they're sucking it from other people, which is one of the characteristics of it. And of course, you know, there's things you can learn to do. Yeah. Hi, come on in.
Sorry I'm late.
That's okay. We have a chair right for you. Here you go.
Okay, thank
We're
you.
just on the second page here, looking at these. The checklist of oral character checklist. One of the things you can do if you're in a relationship with someone and you feel like they're sucking your energy is basically to kind of fill yourself. Sometimes turn to the side is one of the things that we learn instead of being energetic one-on-one, because what they're doing is they're putting energetic cords into your chakras, and that's how they're sucking the energy out.
You know, the siphon.
It's just an awareness. If people around you are feeling drained, then possibly, I don't know. Only you would know. Yeah, but it's, and that's what all of this is about.
Because you said they don't know, so, you know what I'm saying?
They may or may not know until it's brought to your attention.
Interesting.
And it's something then for, yeah, you just to be, you know, conscious of and aware of and see how people react around you.
I know I'm very, like, I had a rough week, and like when I share with someone, it's like, I'm sorry if I hurt your ear, you know, because it is,
Right.
you know, because I'm used, I like to be itchy or sad, you
Right.
know, but
Sure.
I know I gotta let it go.
Let it go, right?
Right, own it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's important to find someone who can listen to you. We call this, and Carla McLaren calls this conscious complaining. So to be able to find somebody that can listen to you but not take it on or not let you suck from them, that's a whole different thing. It's kind of like when we do energy work, we hold a space and we don't take on anything, you know, which is I'm sure what you learn to do because you do body work. You don't take it on, you just let it move through you or whatever. So you don't take it on or you don't let them suck it from you. Either way, you're holding that energy space for them. But yes, it is important. The conscious complaining, she talks about 2 different ways that you can conscious complain, because it is important. Otherwise, it circulates in your
It's
head.
like a story.
It's like a story, and it goes over and over and over. And so conscious complaining helps you release it. Whether it's telling somebody else your story and they're, empathizing with you, but they're not taking it on. There's a difference. And just listening, receiving it, or taking it on, or letting it bounce off, however your field does. Or she says you can even go to a tree or a bush or to nature or whatever, and just let that tree or bush have whatever it is. Just exactly. It's like in the
I just
tree.
feel like vomiting.
Yeah,
It does.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to do sometimes. To
I guess
either
that's
let
why
go of it.
sometimes when I've done that, it's like I felt really yucky afterwards, because I kind of use that. You use that person.
Well, you can think of it that way, or you can just thank them for listening and not taking it on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not
It's
shutting up on.
no, we don't want you to shut up.
No, I meant
Right.
this is.
It's
complicated.
letting that go, yeah. Sometimes it's very important to let that cycle in the brain. Yeah. Because otherwise the story just gets bigger and louder and whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's allowing that to move through. Good question though, yeah. So, it's just something for you to think about, and it's a great question, and knowing there are ways to release that where you're not necessarily sucking or drawing it from somebody else, which just sounds like what you're doing. Yeah. The key would be, how do people feel when they're around you? I mean, you have plenty of friends, Lori. I don't think you're sucking from them, so.
Not today.
Or they wouldn't be your friends. They'd be, go around Lori, she's gonna suck your energy.
Oh,
though.
God. Here she comes.
See, we know better.
And we don't see her.
Exactly. So, good question. So the energetic sucking, or I need more, feed me, don't let me down, don't leave me, are statements a lot of times that the oral sometimes feels, and we probably all felt these at some time. If you've ever been in a relationship, which most of us have on some level, maybe it could even be a parent, that passed away, where you feel abandoned, where it's like, don't leave me, or, there can be any different levels of that, or, divorce, or just relationships where people parted. And it's knowing, and it's feeling full enough inside yourself to know that it's okay. Okay. Spirit tells me to tell stories about myself, and I'm like, okay. I was married for 34 years and went through a divorce. I've been divorced for 8 years now. And it took me coming into my own power and energy enough, feeling enough power, and a lot of this is about not owning your own power, to be able to step out on my own. And it talks about the victimhood, which is a part of this character's, what it does is feels the victim and not feeling like you're powerful enough to do that. And it's not that I was miserable for 34 years, but I got to a point where that I was more or less the submissive wife, of 34 years, because that's how my mom was raised and that's how I was raised. And when I went through the Barbara Brennan School, came more and more into my own essence of, this is who I am, this relationship's not working for me. So making that choice to kind of move on as I came more into my own power. And a part of that, I think, is owning that power and that part of who you are. Feeling full enough. I can remember I worked with a teacher, Mark Brennan, integrational practitioner teacher, and when I finally told her that I was going to move out, she said, instead of saying, I told you so, she said, you've been chewing on that for a really long time. I thought that was so wonderful, just to say, okay, this is what I'm doing it for me. I'm not doing it because she talked me into it or anything else. This is what I needed to do for me and him. He's happier now. He has a girlfriend, and they go to the casinos and do their things, and I do my thing, which is way out of his understanding. So it's all good, and it's all about coming into your own power and essence. So a feeling of insecurity leads to hoarding. You feel like you have to have more and more. Permanent worry about the future, which I think we all kind of do on some level. A fear of letting go. Blames and generates the victim attitude. This is one of the characterologies that has the victim attitude, because there's not enough, the abandonment, and all those pieces there. Demand satisfaction from others in a relationship, so it's constant blaming the other for the dissatisfaction instead of realizing, okay, this is what's going on in me, and taking ownership of their piece of their relationship. One of the best teachers I know for that is, her name slipped me. I guess I'm not supposed to say it. I'll come back to it. But it's owning your own part of the story. Who would I be without my story? Byron Katie.
Byron Katie.
Byron Katie helps you know what's yours and what's not yours. And when I was married for years, after I learned the Byron Katie, I would do a lot of her worksheets to determine, instead of blaming him or her or whoever for whatever they're doing, in Byron Katie's worksheets, you can turn it around and see what's inside of me that is really lacking, and what it is that I'm being triggered by what they're doing. Because everyone's basically a mirror for ourselves. And so it's easy in this characterology to blame someone else for whatever it is you're feeling. And that happens a lot in relationships, instead of taking ownership for, I can remember one of the biggest things that I remember writing on that was, he wasn't into meditation or any of these things, and he wasn't willing to work on himself, and it's like he's just stuck. He's stuck, he's not ever going to do anything,
Right.
That's all those stories that go through our head. And then when I sat down and did the worksheet, then you eventually go through all these questions, and you turn it around and you go inside, and it's like, oh, I'm stuck. I'm stuck. Basically in this marriage, I'm stuck, and because even though, I was doing all these self-help things, basically there were still pieces in my own piece of me that was stuck and wasn't willing to move forward and see. So it's willing to look inside and see what piece of you is being triggered, because you're the only one that can really work on anything. You can't really change other people. The only people we can change are ourselves. So it's knowing what those pieces are, being aware to start with, and then figuring out how to shift that. So feelings of insecurity leading to hoarding, I think I already read that one. Permanent worry about the future and fear of letting go. Blames and generates a victim attitude. Demands satisfaction from another. In relationship, blames the partner for dissatisfaction. Always wants more in a relationship and is permanently frustrated, clinging, or manipulative. Loss of one's power through dependency on others. So again, it's feeling full and complete, and when that is transformed, and that's kind of what we're going to look at here, the transformation required is to look inward to find one's own source of energy and will, being liberated from attachment to fear of loss, trust in life, recovery a sense of fulfillment, regardless of the outer circumstances, feeling free and letting others be free. So it's not manipulating others, so it's feeling full in yourself. One of the teachers that I had would always use these diagrams to show when I'm full and alive, my energy's like this. It's expanded. I'm full of my own essence. And the other person can be full of their essence, and it's okay. So it's not trying to manipulate someone, but it's being full and knowing who I am and satisfied with who I am. So sometimes that gives me an image of being completely full and my energy full. So So when the structure is transformed, it becomes open, relaxed, and celebrates each living moment. It's trusting in life, I think that's mistyped. Trusting life makes the person generous, kind, caring, and nurturing. Because when you're full, then you want to share, you want to give, and you care about others, but you're not out there trying to draw their energy or manipulate them or trying to make them who you want them to be or feel like you have to fix them. When you're full in your essence, then you're setting a vibration and an energy out so that other people can feel that and know what it feels like. And so it's like the ripple in the pond of fullness. You're lighthearted and inspiring, autonomous, feels loved and is able to love unconditionally because you're sharing your own energy. The declaration of transformation: I am enough. I am content in any circumstances, and I am self-reliant and free. I let others be free. I find my own sense of contentment within. I am inwardly full and rich. I am generous and share with others because life is filled with abundance, and I am in contact with my inner infinite source. Okay, so that's where we're headed, right? And that's what we can be. And I know some of you are there in so many ways already. So, as Roxy takes a break to go to the bathroom.
Sorry.
That's fine, not a problem. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to embarrass you. We're going to do a meditation now, and kind of, it's more of a tapping into the body. As I've said before, and Lisa and I have talked about the importance of being in the body and feeling the body and knowing where the sensations are that maybe feel the abandonment, that maybe feel that they're not full enough, or feel a loss, or not good enough. And so what we're going to be doing is kind of tapping into where the body feels certain sensations, and then just see maybe what piece kind of comes up for you, whether it's a past life image or another image of any of the pieces, or actually anything that we've talked about that is ready, and this is an opportunity for it to clear and to heal it so that you're more fulfilled. In other words, in the school we talk about each trauma is like a pearl and it's like a gift. So, because I was so immediately taken from my mom and wrapped up or whatever, and felt maybe a sense of abandonment, then now I can know the other side of that, know what it's like to be, once that's full, and being able to connect with myself and fulfill that, then I can feel full in myself, and I'm not out there looking for it from somebody else. So it's transmuting it and transforming it into feeling full and alive in yourself. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to start by kind of connecting with the bowl and the energy here. So make yourself comfortable. If you want to lie on the floor, you can. April just got back up. She's ready to do something different. Put your things away. And as I begin to play the bowl, do you want a blanket or anything?
Oh, no.
Are you fine? Okay.
I want a blanket.
Okay.
It's unusual for me.
That's okay. Yeah. It is cool in here. So as I play the bowl, we're just going to use that to kind of take you to a place inside. So kind of close your eyes. And again, maybe just begin to breathe in and out through the heart, or in through the heart and out through your feet. As Christy said, Christy said earlier, presencing yourself loss, abandonment, not enough. And then just see, allow an image to come. Allow an image to come that represents that loss or anything else that's coming. Allow the body to feel any impulses it might have. As I mentioned earlier, the impulses in the body may be to shake or move or push away or draw in. Just any movements maybe that the body wants to make. Just giving you that opportunity. If that doesn't feel okay, you can always just stay with whatever. You can even stay in the heart if any of this feels uncomfortable. Taking your energy back to the heart if that feels uncomfortable. Otherwise, if you've received some kind of image, just kind of seeing that, sensing whatever that might be, the loss, the abandonment, the not enough, could be in this lifetime or others, could be recently. Rejection. And from this image, there's a couple of options you can choose. You can just surround the image with light, like surrounding it in a bubble of golden or white light, and allow it to dissolve. Transmute. You can actually rewrite the story, rewrite the image. Rewrite the image. If you're in the desert and you're starving, have someone bring you a buffet of food. If you're a child and you're not getting what you need, imagine angels, beings, your mother, your father, grandparents, aunts, uncles, anybody there. Meeting your needs so that you can feel full and alive and complete, filling you up. Notice any changes or shifts in the body as you see the image being rewritten or dissolved, feeling that fullness in your own body and feeling complete and alive and full, content. Working with the image in whatever way feels right for you. Clearing and transmuting, rewriting, so that you can receive what you didn't get earlier. And the next piece you can choose to do or not is to imagine somebody's eyes the baby does. And it connects with its mother's eyes. And it heals on so many different levels as you connect with the eyes. It can be the eyes of an etheric being, somebody that you know in this lifetime, somebody that you've seen on TV, from a movie. Feel the kindness and compassion of those eyes. Just note what happens in the body as you do that. Feeling the love and compassion, caring, giving yourself what you did not get in an earlier time. Allowing your body to feel and integrate whatever experience you just had. As you begin to ground, connect more with your presence here. You may even want to wiggle your fingers and toes to presence yourself back in this place. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. And just know this is a short piece. If you need to work more on this, feel free, in your own time. Sitting in meditation, whatever images come, working with those. It's always good to have someone else, as Laurie said, to hear and work with you. A lot of this you can do on your own. You're just feeling more and more connected to your body. So as we brought more presence in last week with the schizoid, and this is just bringing more of the feeling fullness in the body, and knowing who you are, feeling complete and content. So this is all about. Any questions? Anybody want to share anything? This is deep stuff. Yeah. Just giving anybody an opportunity to share. Sometimes it helps to verbalize it. It makes it a little more being here and willing to go this journey and come more into who you are as we clear and come more into our essence and being. As I said earlier, we set out that ripple in the pond for the consciousness of the universe, because we're helping everyone. Whenever you work on yourself and clear yourself and moving to a higher vibration, we're helping everyone in the universe. So, thank you for being here. Thank you. You okay?
I'm okay, I'm just listening.
Okay. Just checking in, making sure you're all okay before you walk out of here. Next week, I think, is the masochist, which is also another victim characterology.